spent hours going through all cameras available under $1,000 to help you choose the right tool to start. Filming your own content for YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Now in this video I'm gonna give you my opinion on which cameras hold more value, but mainly I'm gonna show you the best way to research it and the most important features you have to consider. E aí, I'm Henry. In this channel I help with the tech tools to be creative, and today we're gonna use a tool from the Deep Preview website that lists over 2,500 cameras, and we're gonna filter it out together, and hopefully by the end you're gonna be left with a handful of options that fit perfectly what you need. So let's start with feature number one, and I'm pretty sure it's one that you weren't thinking about: the microphone jack. I could start trying to explain why this is the first feature, but just check it out. We click this and we're down to less than 10% of the cameras. Way less intimidating like this. Now the thing here is that there's no alternative solution to not having an external good microphone to have good audio on your videos. You're gonna be stuck with the onboard microphone. It's gonna sound like a huge empty box, or that will pick noise from everywhere.
Sounds in a very busy environment. And that was good.
And you could try saying, it's actually not that bad. Try listening to it for a whole YouTube video. So good luck if you're not ticking that box. And this takes us to feature number two, which is silent and efficient autofocus, which is another one in which there is no alternative really. I can't tell you how many clips I had in the past that have this focus breathing, this hunting that the camera does to try to find the subject, or that simply got this very irritating noise from the lens spinning around. And if you've never seen it before, yes, it does spin physically. Now, there's no good autofocus filter, but in general, and here goes the there are exceptions warning. Older DSLRs won't have very good autofocus like the old Canon EOS blah 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 Ds or the Nikon's D blah blah blahs. And other ones are just gonna be much more expensive than $1,000 like the 5Ds Mark da 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 or the 1DXs. Now maybe you're gonna find one of these used with a very good price, and can it work? And the answer is yes. You're watching me right now on the T6i or 750D. And the image is pretty good, the audio also, but with 200 more, you can get a camera that is 5 or 6 years younger and has many more features for video. So I don't think I would recommend you saving on this one. So here we're picking this other one, this, and this. And we are down to 116 cameras. It's getting better. And for a little bit of an extra stretch, I would click on face autofocus also. This simply means that the camera is going to be tracking your face at all times. What this means is that maybe you're just talking about something and you have it in your hands, and the camera might think that this is much more interesting than yourself, and you're gonna end up with a shot that is a bit soft in focus like this one. With face detection, you'll always be sharp. Bonus tip: inside the sensor, let's choose 1 inch, 4/3, APS-C, and full frame. And this is because medium format is just going to be way too expensive, like in the thousands of dollars. And compact and premium compact, in reality you're gonna be better off with just the smartphone. It's just gonna be easier and quality is gonna be very similar. Now feature number three is how you see through the camera, the screen and the viewfinder. Oh, this is getting hot, and this is gonna generate many controversial comments, I'm pretty sure. The options here are whether to have a viewfinder or not at all, and which kind of screen to have, tilt, fixed or fully articulated. Articulated. So viewfinder first, and since this is a video-focused research, I'm gonna keep this one off, meaning it doesn't matter that much. But especially if you're more serious about photography, you definitely want a viewfinder. It's just so much better to shoot with one and frame your shot perfectly. And since we're mainly left now with mirrorless cameras on our research, this means that the viewfinder is gonna be just like the LCD on the back of the camera, displaying all the informations, you can change stuff in the menu, and you can review everything from there. So even if it's super bright outside, you'll still be able to do it. And you could actually review photos and also videos, which is a bonus on the video side. Okay, regarding the screen, I have to click on this one, fully articulated. And this hurts me because I'm eliminating my own camera. Now, bear in mind that before saying that I'm telling people to do stuff instead of doing what I do, is that I just want you to have the less friction possible to start recording and have a camera that is gonna help you with the best features right from the start. The more you film, the more you progress, and this will do just that. Now, problems I've faced before because of not being able to see myself include shots that missed focus, the battery died, a light went out behind me. But the best one is when the extension for the microphone unplugged and I talked for 30 minutes and I have just a video, no more. Now I warn you, this is gonna cut out a lot of amazing cameras. So if you wanna push on this one, alternatives are using the app and the smartphone, just like I do here. And you can see a dedicated video about that here on the channel. Select cameras need some engineering, but it works. Another solution is getting an external display like this one, but you're gonna have to spend maybe $100 more, and you always have to carry this with you if you're filming outside. So for your own good, I'm ticking this thing, but I'm not your mom to tell you what to do. So we're down now to 47 cameras. Video resolution. Finally, and probably this is the first one beside megapixel count that people usually ask me. But in reality, it's not even that important because all of the cameras left, except one, film in 4K, which I consider in 2023 is the bare minimum. Now you might argue that Full HD is more than enough, people watch the videos on their phones anyways, and yeah, while that is true, having 4K also allows you to reframe the screen as you want it, because it's so much bigger than Full HD that even if you're exporting in 1920 by 1080, it's much better to have all this flexibility and be able to play with the footage in post-production. So really, it's a great tool to have, so don't skip it. But attention, here I'm not marking anything because there's a bug in the system. I noticed some cameras have a different 4K listing than what it is in reality. Some are listed like this instead of like this. And so if you click one of these options, it's going to exclude those cameras for nothing. So just leave it as it is, but have that in mind if you're doing a different filter than me. Now, if you're planning to move around with the camera, stabilization is definitely something you're going to be looking for. There are basically 4 types: IBIS, which is in-body image stabilization, digital, lens stabilization, or other sorts of stabilization like gimbals. Now, IBIS is the sensor itself moving around to compensate your movements. You keep the quality, you can use any lens, and it's gonna be much more stable than not having anything. But if you use this filter, you're gonna see that there's only higher-end cameras and a bunch of the older Micro Four Thirds Panasonic cameras. Now, you can pair that with the second solution, which are stabilized lenses, or have that just by itself. The lens stabilization or optical works pretty well also, but then you're stuck with the lenses that have it. On this one we got a stabilized lens, but no IBIS. So how does it look? Is it better or worse than with IBIS on camera? The third option that is not listed here is the digital stabilization. And if I enable it on the ZV-1 here, for example, this is what happens. So the camera is cropping in to have some margin to play with the frame around and compensate for your movements. Kind of like the same strategy, but now digitally. It still works, but you're gonna lose field of view, and also it can get a little bit wobbly. The stabilization active, and in theory it should be very good on the ZV-1 that I'm using here. How does it look? And the last resource would be to buy a $300 gimbal and have to carry it around. I would only recommend it to people that are mainly gonna do this type of shots. Okay, but even in this case, it's better to have a little bit of in-body image stabilization for the times that you don't have time or you just don't want to assemble the gimbal. So I leave this off, but keep it in mind for your final list. Portability. I want you to think right now about the bag you already have to carry your new camera. Would it fit? Is 1 extra kilo too much? How long would you be able to carry it or have it in your hands to film? Now, this seems very basic, but it can be a big barrier between doing very cool shots and being excited about filming and not doing it at all. By now, if you did more or less the same filters, no cameras left is very big. But paired with some lenses, it can be quite a workout. So if you want, you can play with this slider a little bit, and every 200 grams difference cuts out a lot of cameras. Unless you're very worried about the weight, I wouldn't go below 600 grams. Seems to me like that's the sweet spot. Still some very good cameras left in. So if you're still with me, we're down to 27. Oh, I have very few cameras left, and probably you do too. And now we're gonna talk about future proofness. And probably you're wondering, like, when are we gonna talk about price? And my idea was not to include it until now, because this way you can have a select group of cameras that totally fit what you need. And then later on, if you decide to stretch a little bit your budget, or if you just find one of those that are very close to the 1000 margin, but it's on sale, probably that's gonna be the best value for you. Anyways, let's take a look at what we still have over here. And on page 2, you can see that these are good cameras, but they are a little bit outdated. And they are not gonna hold a lot of value against the ones in the first page that are a little bit newer. Here we're left with several different options and brands, and some of them lead to a very cool progression line within that same brand, and other ones are a little bit like a dead end. Let's talk about this one, for example. The M series from Canon was amazing when they released it, and it's still a very good camera. But they have a specific line of lenses that work only on M cameras. You can use an adapter to use the DSLR lenses, but then you're not really moving forward with this. And right now it seems that Canon wants to push the R line up. They use this new lens mount, so in the future if you upgrade to a full frame camera, you might be able to use some of the lenses you get, and also the way of using the camera is gonna be roughly the same. So I don't see much of the value of investing in the M lineup anymore. On the other hand, we got a couple of Sonys over here. And if you researched before watching this video, you probably saw in all retail websites that you can find many other Sonys in this price range. But if you did the same filters as me, they got cancelled when we included the fully articulated screen and the image stabilization. On some of them, the screen even tilts upward so you can see yourself, but then it blocks the microphone. So considering this, and that also in the list right now we still have the ZV-E10 for example, that uses the new E lens mount instead of the A mount that those other ones use. It's a much more modern camera, has the screen, and many more features for a similar price range. Unless of course we go back to that sale option in which you find something that is just too cheap to ignore. So considering these, this one is gonna lead you forward much better than the other ones. Another very cool option in this list is the Nikon Z30. Also an awesome little camera with great stabilization, great screen, takes amazing photos and uses the same lens lineup as their mirrorless professional cameras. So even if right now their full frame lineup is not on par with Sony or Canon, in my opinion at least, it's gonna be much easier to progress with the Nikon than using some of the other options left. Okay, so finally we got to the point of which cameras do I actually recommend. And the 3 cameras that I'm gonna put in the podium right now, they respect all of the features that we talked about before. They're all within this $700 to $800 price range already with a kit lens. And if you do have the $1,000 budget, you can actually spend the rest on a second lens or even better, on a very good microphone. And they are not in order of preference, but the first one I'm gonna talk about is the ZV-E10, which is the brother of the ZV-1 I have here. Both are actually very good, and even the ZV-1 could be more than enough for what you need. But since the ZV-10 allows you to change lenses and it's more or less in the same price range, I see more value in going already to the ZV-10. You're gonna have amazing image quality, stabilization, a great screen, it's very portable, it's got everything. Second one I'm gonna mention, and I talked about it before, is the Nikon Z30. Nikon really nailed it with this camera. Very easy to use, great form factor, image quality is amazing, takes also great photos. It's really a do-it-all camera. And lastly, there are the Canons, and there are 2 in this list. The R10 and the R50. Now both are very similar feature-wise. The R50 is actually the simpler one, has less controls, less buttons on the camera body, and for sure having these would be very good, it makes it much simpler to operate the camera. But the price gap is very big just for these differences. So I think between both of them, I would go for the R50 and save the rest of the money to invest in other things. And that's it. If this video helped you at all in getting a little bit closer to choosing which camera you're gonna get, please leave it a like and comment down below if there's any camera you expected to see here by the end, or if there's any specific one you're looking into right now and you need a little bit help in deciding if it's worth it or not. Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao! Hey, I can already imagine the comment section. Where are the Fujis? Where? Guys, they were over 1,000. What can I do? Maybe in the next video, the $1,500, they're all gonna be there. But let's have some fun in the comment section. If you got till here, comment down below. Sony, bigger than Fuji. And let's fire up the comment section. Ciao!